And welcome back. We are going to continue working with our box here. Let's go ahead and look at a couple different things that we didn't get a chance to explore last time, which is the ability to delete or dissolve individual components. So here in this cube here, if I'm in object mode, of course you can see we have the whole thing selected. But again, if we go over to edit mode, we of course get the ability to affect these individual vertices or these edges here. So I just wanted to show something that we can do with removing these. In object mode, if I go back to that for a second and I were to press the X key, we can choose to delete the whole shape. But in edit mode, if I press the X key, you can see we have different options. We have vertices, edges, faces, etc. all the way down here. But let's just see what that looks like. So for example, if I go ahead and click on just this corner here, all right? So I'm in right now vertex edit mode and I hit delete and I'm going to delete that vertex. You can see with that vertex gone, it ends up almost looking like a kind of a perspective of some kind of room. And so this gives us just a little bit of a viewpoint here because you can see we've lost some faces and we lost the lines that are the edges and stuff like that just simply from deleting that vertex. Now if I undo that and let's say we switch now to wanting to delete a edge here. All right, so let's switch to a more of an edge mode here. And let's say I select this line here and I hit delete. And let's go ahead and delete edges. All right, you can see that it opens up that entire piece here. We still have these corners here, which is great, but you notice that we lost some edges. And if I do that again on this side and hit delete, and I hit the edges, one thing you'll notice though is I keep this line here, all right, which is a little different than if I did this vertex mode. Both of these would probably disappear, but this stays here because this is a separate edge, so it will stay here. And then the nice thing is if I press with this line and I press this in here, I can actually repair this if I really want to and bring in new shapes. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. So I'm going to bring us back to our original cube. And if we go into face mode here, and I'm just going to go ahead and select a face, and let's go ahead and delete that face, you'll see it kind of almost makes like an open box. All right, and if I grab just one more face here, just to delete that, again, you can see it doesn't touch the edges or the vertices. It just takes away the face of that cube. All right, that's a pretty cool little trick, but how does this actually work now on our shape? What is the purpose of this? So I'm actually going to go ahead and open back up my cube or my wedge that I had worked on last time. If you look on the bottom here, you can see we have a line here on the bottom of this wedge here. All right, and this line is kind of an unnecessary piece of geometry that doesn't need to exist here. So I can say, well, I could delete this out of here and I wouldn't have to worry about it. So I could select this individual line here. So for example, if we go back to vertice, we will select these vertices here, or we could say, you know, it's a line that needs to come out. So I'm going to go ahead and select that line, right? And if I hit the delete key and I want to delete it, if I hit delete edge, one thing you can see, it will make the bottom of this hollow. And that's not what we want. We don't want to delete that out of there because you can see how it created these hollow castles. So let's just undo that. And instead, we have more options. So we have the ability to dissolve. So if we choose, hey, you know what, I don't want to dissolve a face because it's probably going to take this whole thing out of here. Instead, if we say dissolve edges, it gets rid of that line. Now, that's really cool. And we can see we still have all the different edges of our ramp. But what's if I had done this differently? What's if I had done this with, instead, I had come in here and said dissolve vertices. Now, you can see with dissolve vertices, we kind of lose some of our sides and stuff here. All right, so if I undo this again one more time. And instead, let's go ahead and go over to trying to find a vertex here. You can see that with this, we don't quite have a vertex here. We have a bunch of edges. There's not necessarily a vertex here because remember, we did manipulate this shape. So it's a little bit harder sometimes to get some of those little corners. And even if I did, it may not appear that it has an edge. And if we switch view modes here to like wireframe, we can really see where these definitions are kind of coming into play. So again, if I hit the X key and I choose to dissolve that edge, you can see it's now no longer there. Instead, this shows up as one solid piece of material. And let's go ahead and put this back onto shading. And there, of course, is my wedge. And that, of course, gives it a little bit more tricks that we can use to kind of really help make this look smooth. Because imagine if this was the surface of this and I had a line moving across this, then that line would count as a new face and I would have to shade both those faces. But without that edge in there, it makes this a solid piece of material, and it's going to make it a lot easier when I start working with things going forward.